Committee Chair D.
We're ready. We are live.
I think we're good to go. All right.
Welcome to the regularly scheduled Infrastructure Committee meeting. Today is Monday, November 18th, 2024. Voting members of the committee are myself, Chair Dean, Councillor Fish, Councillor Fournier, Councillor Hawes, and Councillor Leonard. We also have Jefferson Davis, city engineer at the table, and Councillor Mallor. First up, we have a project update for Public Works, wastewater treatment plant, and engineering department.
Yep. So I provided a memo that was done in collaboration with Amanda Smith and Aaron from Public Works. I wasn't gonna go project by project. I was gonna, if you guys have any questions on projects, we can answer them. They're all three here. A majority of these projects are done in collaboration between all departments. And without that, we couldn't complete these projects. This is just a little snippet of what we do throughout the year. You know, I didn't put all the permits that we review, all the utility permits that we hand out. So I'll just open it up, and if you guys have any questions about any of this, we can talk about it. Unless you want me to go. Okay. I didn't think so.
I just had one question really quickly. It actually is, but by the way, it's a lot of projects and they're very in-depth and technical, and especially with the water quality, we've been having conversations with those for many years. I just have one question though, regarding I know there's a lot of different hats that sometimes what we try to wear in the infrastructure committee, but is leadership between the different departments, water quality, engineering, is there some sort of function for how we communicate with all those departments through one I don't want to say director, that's not the correct word I'm looking for, because obviously you're directors in your own fields, but there's a lot that your departments touch upon and you coordinate with each other. Is there maybe a potential to talk about a person that can maybe coordinate these all these different departments in infrastructure in a more conducive way, or your roles are so specific and so specialized that it would just be very difficult to have a director oversee the management of all these different departments, similar to how Ann handles the entire BED department? And I think I know the answer to this question, but I was just trying to think of a way to maybe simplify the overall process of leadership structure in the public works in general and engineering and whatnot. That might be a very over the top question.
I don't think that's something I could answer here. I mean, a long time ago, it was all one big department.
Correct.
I think we all work together, but we all do very different things all the time.
Right.
I think the way it's structured now, I think is a better role. I think we can get more done. I mean, we all collaborate together. Without that, we couldn't get half the stuff done. But I don't know. To me, I think it's working fine. But I'm looking at from different eyes from you folks. But I think that's a much larger conversation than I can answer here. But
That's totally fine. I appreciate your perspective.
Councillor Fournier?
The interlocal agreements between Bangor, Herman, and Hamden, I take it that's this.
that's water quality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says fall of 24.
That's because I made a typo.
Okay. I didn't know what the timeline was
Which
on
one
that.
is that?
For the agreement.
So those interlocal agreements were 30-year agreements. They were written in 1996. They expire in January of 2026.
26.
So we are in the process of
Okay.
renegotiating.
Yeah, well, I should have said in process.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Thank you, Amanda. Do we have any other questions regarding project updates for Jefferson Davis
Or Aaron.
or Aaron? Well, if you'd like to join us.
Don't you have a question or?
No.
It's my turn to go.
Right, you're next. Second item on the agenda is the tree donation from Plants Unlimited. Aaron Hoodry.
Yeah, so it's always exciting to get free stuff, especially when you're trying to stretch your budget. We do source some of our botanical budget trees specifically from Plants Unlimited. They reached out to us this fall and said, hey, we have a few trees, good sized trees. They are outgrowing their burlap, and if we rewrap them, it makes it very difficult to work with once you rewrap and plant again and then have to rewrap later. And they said, we don't want to do that because our customers don't like it. We want to get rid of these trees. We were the first call they made. They were going to go on to someone else if we did not make a decision. So as I said, this really does stretch our budget. Large caliper trees are expensive. I did write wholesale value. This is the retail value of these trees. So they're quite expensive to purchase once they're larger like that. And we do try to source larger trees for our downtown district because they have a higher chance of survival. So we did not wait until we received approval from the infrastructure committee or council. We went ahead and accepted those trees. Those are in our yard in temporary storage for the winter. And so now we are requesting retroactive approval for the donation of 2,000 of trees worth $2,569.95.
Council Borden.
So I look at this list of trees, and I look at the next list of trees. Are these native?
I do not believe all of these are native, but they are appropriate for planting in the city. Do you have that answer?
Yeah, not on the Turkish hazel.
Yeah.
Not native.
I figured once I saw Turkish, it wasn't.
Yeah, well, European.
Yeah,
Anyway, no big deal. I was just kind of curious.
They are
If
suitable.
planted, it
for
would be
planting
native,
in
right?
the city. They're not on the advisory list or the invasive list, so.
Good.
I'd be happy to make a motion.
Second. We have a motion, we have a second. Will this be on agenda for next week?
Yes, it will.
Moving on to our third item, free donation from University of Maine School of Forest Resources.
So once again, we were contacted by an outside organization. We worked with the University of Maine School of Forest Resources with some interns for the summer. Worked with them this fall for some actually recruiting for interns for next summer, but been working quite a bit with them. They had a grad student who finished up a project with 105 trees that there was nothing wrong with them. They were just studied in terms of how they responded to the climate, and they were going to be destroyed because they had no place to store these, no reason to store these. And someone said, hey, I know the city of Bangor plants a lot of trees. You might want to call them. So they called our forestry manager and offered those up once again. It was, let's make this decision very quickly because they will be destroyed. So we did choose to accept those trees, total value $2,952.43. So we are once again requesting retroactive approval. And I do have, assuming that I'm going to receive that approval tonight, I do have a resolve written for council next week.
So moved. Second. Any questions or comments? We have the motion, we have a second. This will be on council for next week.
Thank you. Appreciate the support.
Fourth item on the agenda, overnight on-street parking rules.
Yeah, so
This
this is a
is
bigger
interesting.
one. This is a bigger one. And we've talked a little bit about of parking, but our current ordinance 29142 does prohibit parking on the street between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. once the first parking ban is called through March 31st in the spring. And we had some recent changes, council approved some recent changes to ordinance 16572 off-street parking. And that actually reduced the requirement for the number of off-street parking spaces for certain, or actually for quite a few dwellings. So community and economic development, or business and economic development, and public works, engineering. There's been a lot of discussion around how we can incent housing or support additional housing, knowing that there are fewer vehicles, being parked, off the street. So, I do have some nice language here from planning department that I don't want to look over either. Allowing on-street winter parking facilitates, the removal of parking minimums in the urban core. And also facilitates the addition of dwelling units on small lots where there may just not be enough room for off-street parking. And Bangor developers have stated that a lack of space for off-street parking has been a barrier to creating additional housing. Also, free parking off-street really incentivizes more vehicles, more driving, and disincentivizes taking other forms of transportation like walking, biking, which does lead to more congestion, sprawl, heat islands, reduced housing affordability. And then additional on-street parking, and I'm a big fan of this, and I think Jefferson will back me up. Traffic calming, one of my favorite traffic calming measures is narrower streets because it does tend to slow people down. Having cars parking on the street slows people down because it does narrow up the street. It doesn't always make everybody happy, but it does tend to slow down traffic. So there's benefits to on-street parking. There seems to be a need for on-street parking, and I believe this need will grow over time as we get more houses, more housing units, dwellings built that don't have as much off-street parking. So really took a look at our operations over the winter and try to decide how we can provide the services that we currently provide to the city without continuing with our current no parking during the overnight. So we're proposing a trial for this winter, similar to the trial that we're doing downtown, cleaning off the sidewalks, giving this a trial to allow on-street parking and see if we can maintain that level of service to residents. So we're looking at continuing regular parking rules through the winter. They can park on the street overnight. We propose that people will be able to park on the street overnight outside the downtown parking district. So really no change from what we're offering during the summer. The odd even rules would be eliminated during the day. So it would be, again, the same as during the summer. They can park on the street wherever there isn't any signage disallowing parking. The parking ban during winter storms is going to be the big change. Right now, we do a parking ban. It's for the downtown. An overnight parking ban is for the downtown because it's already prohibited outside downtown. If we allow that parking on the street overnight, now the parking ban will apply to the entire city. And that's a big change because I think outside downtown, they don't pay attention to the parking ban because it doesn't apply to them. They're already disallowed. And then when a downtown parking ban is announced, only vehicles in that downtown parking district will be required to find off-street parking because we still need to clear snow from the downtown. We won't necessarily do outside the downtown district. So the rules the proposed trial really isn't that much different than what we're doing during the summer. We did realize that we need to, if we're going to allow on-street parking when it's not storming, we kind of have to try to find places for people to park when there is a storm. So we are proposing some additional parking spaces. Right now, Columbia Street, lower deck, Pickering Square parking garage, the back section, lower deck, and Upper Abbott, the back section are all allowed. People are allowed to park there at no charge during parking bans. We propose the addition of Cameron Stadium at the Mount Hope up at the top parking lot, Cross Insurance Center up in section C, Essex Street Dog Park on Watchmaker Street, Gateway Park, Hayford Park, and Union Street Recreation Center. This doesn't give parking in every neighborhood all across the city. I think we would have additional work to do, but this is a big expansion over what we allow now. And hopefully people that are not able to find off-street parking would be able to utilize those lots conveniently. And then we would place, that's the only real change, we would place signage at each of those parking lots and say, this is allowed parking during a parking ban, so that to help guide people, because it will be, even though it's a trial, it's a change. And then, you know, when we do have to clear accumulated snow, there are winters, I'm thinking we will see one again, where we need to remove snow from city streets. We will put out our standard notices saying, hey, we're gonna be cleaning this street, this street, this street. And we also put out our temporary no parking signage, and we do that year round, and it's very successful. I mean, when someone goes to park their car and they see the no parking sign there, it's very clear communication. And then we'll use our standard channels for communication. Number one, to roll out this trial, to let people know if you approve of it, let people know that we're going to be doing a trial this winter, but also to announce those parking bans. And that's through our mass alert notification system, which people are signing up for like crazy. We're seeing the numbers really skyrocket there, so that's good. An alert banner on the new city website, that will be there as well. At least that's what I've been told by David. I haven't seen it yet, but the Public Works page also has a public alert right on it. And we've tried that out already, and it's working well. Our social media channels, Facebook, X, Instagram, parking ban notification on WAVI, WLBZ. And I've been told that WVII will post our parking bans as well. So I'm going to expand to that this year. And then we'll have our electronic messaging boards downtown at State Harlow near the canal, and then at Harlow and Central Street. So lots of attempts to communicate with the public when there are parking bans. When there are parking bans in place and we need to clear, there will be towing. We'll have to, I feel it would only be appropriate if we're allowing additional on-street parking at night. When there isn't storms, we really need to have compliance when there are storms. That's a lot.
Can I have clarification on your odd even? During the day, no longer odd even, but at night, they're still odd even?
No.
Not at all?
No, odd even was only during daytime parking. Nighttime was restricted, no parking.
So as long as it's not a storm, you're allowed to park in front of your house or in front of your neighbor's house.
Exactly. That's what we're proposing, yes. And during the day would be the same rules as during the summer. It's just a continuation of what you're allowed to do right now is what we're proposing, other than during a parking ban for a snowstorm.
Council Chair Pelletier?
Thank you. My questions are about, so if the lots are available for off-street parking 5 PM through 7 AM, does that mean that you anticipate that you can generally clear the city between 5 and 7 and then people can go back to parking? Or are we talking about, we think parking bans may extend to multiple days depending on
It
the weather?
depends on the storm. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. It depends on the storm. But the idea is that we get enough cleared, and if we have to go, if it continues to snow, we don't generally do a parking ban during the day. I think in my 4 years, we've done one during a blizzard, and that was a really, a lot of snow coming down. But for the most part, we'll clean up what we can, depending on the timing of the storm, and then allow people to park. If we need to go through and clear streets, we will use that messaging system. Okay, we plan to do, these streets, as I mentioned, or as Jefferson had in his projects now, we do have a new schedule coming on. We have dedicated night shifts. So, there may be times when we're parking or we're marking streets for clearing. This is going to be a trial.
Sure.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how much will get packed down, how much ice will be on the street. Scraping ice at night doesn't always make people happy because they're trying to sleep. That's why we're proposing not a change to the ordinance, but something to try out and see whether we can make this work.
Sure. Any other questions? Councilor Leonard?
I'll just move staff recommendations.
Second.
With motion and a second, would this be on council for next week? Is it just,
No, this is
Just a
just a trial,
recommendation and
so
trial.
we'll move forward with
Okay.
the trial.
great, well, good luck.
Thank you very much.
Last up, we have traffic calming policy.
Oh, yeah,
No.
Just
we're
continue with the
Oh, I'm so sorry. Number 5,
Thanks, Aaron.
Engineers report discontinuing Davis Court and a portion of First Street, and Counselor Corner has a conflict, so he has stepped out.
Okay. So this is just the final step for the discontinuance of Davis Court and part of First Street. The first step, I came in, asked for, the go ahead to move forward with the process of discontinuance, which is a state process, which requires a public meeting with all land abutters, and then the engineer's report. So I conducted that meeting, November 13th. No one showed up, so we have I got no opponents to this project. So I'm here for the recommended passage for the discontinuance of Davis Court and a part of First, which is on the exhibit A that I provided originally. So.
Counselor Leonard?
I just want to accept the engineer's report and move staff recommendations.
Second.
Thank you.
We did pretty well with that.
We can move on.
Okay, so the last bit, I just thought I would go over some traffic calming policy that we have, just so folks know what that is. I didn't provide the materials with them. I have plenty for you.
Was that the speed bump, the temporary speed bump on Condesky? Is that traffic calming?
Yeah, that's part of what that is, and that's one. So we do have a policy that that states, the process of us to go through this. When we conduct traffic studies, we usually get complaints. Our council will direct us to look at this road or, and we will do the initial speed study and traffic counts, and then we will bring it to council and start following the process of the traffic calming criteria. The speed table on Condesky was a trial based that was initiated by residents on Condesky. So right now we're in the process of reviewing all that data. But that's just one. I have we have a large list of areas that we look at. One that was brought up, I think a few weeks ago, was Valley Ave, which I have the radar count out there right now, but with that project, that's gonna be a detour for when we do Ohio Street Bridge, and also when the DOT does Bullseye Bridge, they'll use that as a detour. So I think we're trying to get some baseline information right now for that. But anyway, we're here to just talk about what the traffic calming policy is. So once we get a request, we go out and do the initial data, and then we can present that data. And then in order to move forward with calming, that road, we typically say it has to be 25 miles per hour. The street cannot be designated state or federal highway, no more than 2 lanes. And then we have some other requirements that say, the residential land use account for at least 75% of the total street. A minimum of 12 dwellings per 1,000 feet of frontage, counting both sides. And residents of the street have requested that action be taken and in accordance with initiation procedure outlined below, which lists, we look at 85th percentile, we look at annual daily traffic, and are those cut through traffics, or is it, folks that live there? We look at if there's a minimum of 3 traffic accidents on that street or segment within the last 12 months. And then there's also other conditions if only 2 of those 3 conditions are meet. We can look at if sidewalks are not available for the full length of the street on at least one side. If a portion of the street is posted 20 miles an hour, due to the presence of a school, or if it's a designated walking route for schools. And then to proceed with that, we have to make once initial contact is made, we'll determine the basis for the request. Whether, when we'll work with the police department and other departments, see if it's traffic speed, traffic volume, which is both. There is a petition that can be brought out to the residents, and which we don't have one listed in our ordinance, but I did look at other communities, and it's pretty much just a regular petition, you know, you sign it, you go around the neighborhood, you get the names and addresses, then it's verified. That doesn't happen if the council directs us, you know, we don't have to follow this step if it's something that the council deems it's necessary. And then we just go through the traffic study, and then we make recommendations to the council, and you know, if it's something the council wants and we need to look for funding, sometimes we have that funding in our budget already. But I just wanted to outline this, because I wasn't sure if you guys knew that we actually had a policy. This was passed in 2008, so it might be a good time for us to look at it, maybe make some recommendations to revise it.
Counselor,
Yeah, I think one of the first questions I have is, do we have, you're telling me that we don't even have a petition, in our ordinances, right?
I couldn't find one, no.
So is there with the municipality you took that form from, was there a minimum amount of people that need to sign that petition? And do you know what that?
Yeah, this is from Portland, this is what they currently have, and they need,
Roger.
and it's just 10 signatures must be on the petition.
Okay.
So it's not very much.
Okay. I guess, I'm sorry.
You can have that copy.
I'm very familiar with
Okay.
you, unfortunately.
I think we could do that.
One other additional question I had is, so I'm reminded of the development of Nashville as it became more and more of a larger city, and it's one main street during certain portions of the week. They did. I don't know if it was the same studies we're talking about here. Maybe it's an additional one, or maybe it's something that we have to change, but they will do similar traffic studies that bring in take in information not just from automotive vehicles, but also from pedestrian foot traffic that goes into the road, or even bicycles, or I'm sure so some of us are aware that we have a lot more people that use scooters in the area. And so are there studies that are already established that take into account of these other variables? If so, do you think we're at a point where we should consider adopting similar studies at this point, or is what we have right now by your estimate what we have right now?
You know, the main difference from 2008 to 2024 is most of these communities now are stating policies for pedestrian, bicycle facilities, that sort of stuff. You know, this was made from the Maine DOT traffic element policy, which I think hasn't been updated since the last time that's been updated was 2019, but you know, they had one that was made in 1999. They had one that was made in like 2004, which I think that's where this came from. So I think it is, you know, I think it's worth looking at revising this policy to include some of that. You know, staff does that anyway. You know, when we do a traffic study, that's where we look at all that stuff anyway, but you know, maybe to have it in our policy going forward, you know, if there's ever turnover with staff, and you know, so it's consistent.
Certainly, and I also just see this as potentially an opportunity for to use Nashville again as that example. Main Street, especially when there's a concert going on, there's a lot of pedestrian foot traffic, and that sector might get busy enough where we might even have to consider just shutting down the Main Street for certain portions of the week. I don't want to do that, but if the economic output is helpful to the city to the point where it's for the safety and benefit of the city to shut down that street, again, that's not going to happen obviously in any time in the future, but I'm glad you're bringing this up, because it's important for us to understand how these mechanisms operate now and how we have to change these into the future, because we have a much different economy now. We have a much different workforce, and Bangor is getting much more vibrant, much younger. And I think we do need to take a lot more of these other approaches to how we study our roads, more than just looking at how good they are for cars. So thank you for bringing this up. This is an area that you're right, we should definitely pay more attention to. I'm looking forward to having a conversation.
Yeah, and as these evolve, we can add. Examples of traffic calming measures, I think that's, the DOT does that now. And, through ITE, through MUTCD, all those regulations, so that's just another step we could take.
Well, great. Well, thank you for the update. Where do we go from here? You're going to be looking into some sort of revision perhaps?
Yeah, I think if that's the direction that, council wants, I will start looking into that, and I can bring drafts back
Okay.
to later infrastructure.
Do we need any formal?
I don't think we need any formal, I just wanted to get it out to you guys and see if it was something you wanted. So,
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Any other questions, comments? That, I think we're adjourned. Good night.